today, how you see it, how they play, boy, today, how you see it, how they play, who represent that me, say, what's up to Tennessee State, to
This is Dr. Cavil.
Dr. Cavil's inside HBCU Sports Law.
Just wanted to give you an update,
and we're moving.
Oh, you got feedback there. Get about cutting that down there. Make sure you don't get the feedback on there on Charles and Mike's side there. This is Dr. Cavil inside HBCU Sports Live with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Just wanted to give an update and say this is as we move forward with the show. We'll be adding some new team members, so we'll give you some updates on what's going on there. But we're going to get right into it because we got a full, jam-packed show and we're ready to go. So with that, without further ado, let's jump it over to Charles and go over to Mike. Mike, what are some of the HBCU news of the day?
Well, greetings everybody. Happy Tuesday. It is Taco Tuesday for those of you who don't remember. So I'm going to get my Taco Tuesdays and I'm going to get my margarita. Unfortunately, in the midst of COVID-19, Dr. Bill and my esteemed co-host over there, CB, we've got a number of sanctions levied by the NCAA. And at the top, and what comes near and dear to us here in the SWAC and based out of Texas, is that Prairie View A&M has released an official statement, but unfortunately is preparing for academic punishment. Their APR has fallen below rates. There was a report released, and it revealed that both the PVAMU football and men and women's basketball teams achieved unsatisfactory APR scores. As a result, the football team has been ruled ineligible to participate in postseason competition, such as the SWAC championship, man, the NCAA Division I playoffs, man, the Celebration Bowl, man, the women's basketball team, which was starting to ball out of control a little bit behind my cohort's team, Jackson State. The women had a tremendous season. Will be penalized with a shorter penalty. I think they'll be penalized in practice hours, but Prairie View is one of many schools that the NCAA has leveraged sanctions against for APR and falling below academic standards. So that's the separate part. I just wanted to start off that story, unfortunately, leading with my alma mater, the Prairie View A&M, falling to sanctions. And if you check the Twitter routes, some of you guys have been on some of the social media. There's a lot of alumni who are very upset about this, and there's all kinds of blame going out there, and there's all kinds of reasons for that. But it's really unacceptable. It's unacceptable. So.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of that in regards to being unacceptable in so many different ways. With that, before I pass it over and let Charles jump in there with some different news of the day, or maybe get his opinion on that. One thing that I thought came out of that, I know in a lot of ways is news around here are Prairie View A&M University alumni and fans quite upset. But of the 10 schools, I like to do the data and break it down. Of the 10 schools, 5 of them were SWAC for 50%. 3 of them were MEAC for 30%, and 2 of them were Southland for another 20%, making up the 10 schools that earn some type of sanctions coming out of this APR. So you have obviously 80% of those institutions were HBCUs between the MEAC and SWAC. Obviously, SWAC has the largest percentage with 50%. Right behind that is MEAC, as I said. And even in terms of limited resource institution, you have the Southland with another 20%. And this is a Southland program in terms of Stephen F. Austin that got hit with basketball and baseball, to name a few in terms of football. And obviously, we've seen what they've been able to do on the basketball side. So obviously, we focus on HBCUs, but this gives some framework in terms of how challenging it is to do with the low limited resource institutions, as they call it at the NCAA level. What are your thoughts on that, or do you want to jump to some other news of the day?
No. If you look at other schools you mentioned, Stephen F. Austin, McNeese State, Chicago State's men's basketball team were also named as part of that multi-conglomerate. But if you look at the overwhelming number of schools, Coppin State, Alabama A&M's men's basketball, men's track and field, Grambling State's men's track and field, Howard football, a number of which are limited resource. So what the heck is really a limited resource? Because I really tried to dig into that, and I really didn't have really a firm grasp on what the NCAA is deemed limited resources and how the funding is and what the considerations are. What the NCAA is trying to say is that yes, we do have some flexibility with limited resource schools, but we want to exercise due diligence to make sure schools are actually doing what they're supposed to do. What does that mean? So I had some mixed emotions about that report, and I'll defer to my colleague over at CB to get his thoughts. But I was a little taken aback with that report from the NCAA.
Go ahead, Charles, chime in. What are your thoughts with this news in regards to NCAA APR sanctions?
Well, I think it's obviously disappointing, especially for those respective fan bases in terms of having the low APR scores. But when you take a look, I guess, at the complexity of it, the NCAA is going to have to figure out some other metric, if you will, because year in, year out, low resource schools or HBCUs are negatively affected. And obviously, the APR is not a metric that is helpful whatsoever to HBCUs. And the flip side of it, we see in terms of it not being a true metric, we've seen historically white colleges and universities who have have the requisite APR score, but they're not graduating their athletes. I think we've seen that at Oklahoma State. We've seen that at Louisiana Tech. So, this metric that we've applied to our HBCUs is obviously not working. It's not working over the past 15 or so years because we're always on the receiving end of the bad news with regards to APR.
Yeah, I'm still checking my out on a limited resource institution.
I can give you the framework on how they come up with the limited resources.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won.
It's about the financial funding and how many of your students at an institution get essentially some type of financial aid, I guess is what you call it, in terms of their limited resources. So that's what they look at it. So they take, I think it's like the bottom 5%, 8% or something like that. And so if your conference have a majority of schools that have that prerequisite, or if you're an institution in itself and you fall within it. So that's how you can get it. So essentially, it's all the HBCUs. I think there were a couple that came out, and then depending on whether they were in a conference with a majority of HBCUs.
I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
And welcome to episode 500 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora and all things HBCU sports for the institutions large or small, from NAIA to NCAA. We share insights, information, and thoughts on the HBCU sports culture and HBCU athletics and aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCUs and the athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. Tonight, co-host Charles Bishop and Mike Washington want to introduce the star of the show, and this is only fitting and appropriate. Show 500, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to our KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer himself, Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University here from Houston, Texas. And I just wanted to start things off right because, Doc, you've meant so much to this space and to this platform. It's only right that we introduce you tonight here on Show 500. Is huge, and really appreciate everything that you've done in terms of bringing myself, bringing Mike in to this platform and talking HBCU sports, something that we all appreciate and enjoy, and something that all the fans around HBCU sports have enjoyed for 500 some odd episodes. So wanted to start things off right by introducing you to the platform.
I appreciate that. That was different and something that you added just before. I appreciate that. Mike?
No.
Yeah. So Doc, I've known you for 30 plus years, and you knew when I said,
Has it been that long, Mike?
Man, it's not it ain't been years. It's been some years. That's how long it's been. So I appreciate your expertise, your patience, your tutelage in this business. I mean, you've grown it. You've grown your image. You've grown the diaspora of HBCU sports. I have nothing but admiration